Hey guys, this will be video 15 for the how to design build a Goldtop Explorer replica using Stuart McDonald templates from time to time. If you're just tripping up on this video, the first couple of videos will lead you to what it is we're doing here. A really cool guitar, very unique guitar. And I'm only going to cover the gold just briefly, just very briefly, because in this video, it should not be a very long video. This is primarily just for Ed to see the guitar come alive. But I might talk about a few things since we're all about to be snowed in, and if anything, this will just give you some background noise. You can put me on replay if you want. So let's talk about the gold very briefly. What I was talking about with the Stewmac color tone right out of the can, I felt like it was too thin of a formula because it was hypersensitive to the fact once I came in. I'm keeping this on my warming station. Once I came in, that might drip a little bit of water. So once I came in with my stringed instrument lacquer in 113-1406, that's a Baileen's Mohawk. It used to be called Baileen's. It's now Mohawk. It's been Mohawk for a long time. But once I came in with the instrument lacquer right out of the can from Mohawk, the M113-1406, which is a derivative of the M610-1406, the solids, it caused the gold to start separating. And someone by the name, I don't know your name, I don't know if you're a guy or a girl, but Indie Games for Life chimed in the last video or yesterday and said, well, basically what makes up the gold is it's called iron pyrite, P-Y-R-I-T-E, which is fool's gold. And I never knew that. But if you can see all the green in there, and then I went on Google and did a search and started reading about what really is iron pyrite. So, here's your gold, your beautiful, I guess, fool's gold. But then in here, you see all of that chocolatey base. And it was talking about when they mine it, there's a lot of minerals in it. And I don't, I'm not like a science guy, but nonetheless, the chemical makeup of it, the organic makeup of it it has a lot of that chocolate black, probably from the iron. So when the clear lacquer hit the fool's gold, it caused it to start separating a little bit, and that's where I was getting the blotchiness. The solution was right there at the last, I decantered the color tone and had about I had close to, what was that, probably about 80 milliliters. Is that what it's called? 60 ml, whatever the ounces would be. Regardless, I had about that much in the bottle, and I knew I got to figure this crap out, or I'm going to lose the guitar, or not lose it, just going to have to start over. So when I had about that amount in there, I scooped out some M610-1406 from the clear with the heavier solids in it. And when I did that, sprayed one coat, bam, it leveled, was beautiful. And then I was able to, the next day, come in with the M113-1406 and just start building coats. And I've been spraying 2 coats a day because it's a little bit chilly. It's been kind of cold. But, just making certain that I don't get any sort of blush. Now, the question is, could you have added the M113-1406 that was decantered from one of these cans? And this is my decantered M113-1406, not the M610. So if that makes sense, even in anything that's in the aerosol cans are going to be far less solids and more liquidy. But I kind of feel like this has a little bit thicker consistency, and this is from like decantering. I think I'm looking at the garbage cans, probably like 4 or 5 cans of lacquer over there that had run out of air pressure at the end of the job, and I just always left them on the tabletop. So this is amazing. I had a lot more than I realized. So I don't know if you could add the M113-1406 decantered aerosol lacquer and get the same results as I got with this, because I used the M610-1406, which has considerably more solids than the aerosol. Okay, so that was a very cool solution. And with that said, is this a bad product? No, it doesn't give any instructions as how to, once you get it on your guitar, how to then start building clear coats and end up with a really beautiful guitar. Other than that, might be one of those things that, well, they expect you to know that don't spray any heavily wet coats on the very front end. You've got to build very, very slow coats. So just maybe do some research there. Or if you're going to work with this, regardless of what color, contact Stewmac and see if they've got some info on that. Because it's not a cheap product. And if you're going to do a burst guitar and you're going to do the lemon middle, then the red, and then the brown, I want to make certain that you don't have this beautiful a dry mix of a guitar, and then you come in with something like this and you're all excited about making it shiny, and then you melt it and it turns into like a circus lollipop where everything just starts bleeding together. And that's happened to me before in the past, where I got, where I was just learning how not to, spray a guitar. We're talking 25 years ago. And because I did a little bit of burst work on some of the guitars, but back in the early 2000s, most of us were just trying to achieve like the 55-year-old look, the real dark, and most of us were coming out of the gate spraying it too dark, and it looked really cheap. So I'm going to get this off the table, but I learned my lesson. Just decanter, if you have to, decanter, or either after you get your color, regardless of what said color is, just be really patient with your clear and spray. We're talking, 5 to 7 coats hyper thin, but there's this dilemma there where you can't spray it from 24 inches away because the lacquer will be dry in the air before it even hits the guitar. So that's why they say about 12 to 14 inches. And I usually like to spray around 8 to 10 inches and a little, not fast, but just movement, whether I'm using my gun, or whatnot. So let me just stop talking about gold and lacquer. And however, as someone had chimed in, because when I made the statement, I was like, man, the painting is this, the painting is that, and they just chimed in, it's important work. And I get that. And it's funny because I was a professional painter from the time I was 18 to 24, but residential and commercial, working with oil-based paints and some alkyd and stuff like that. But for the most part, just oil. Never really worked with lacquers until I started filming guitars. So I try to get the table. I'm going to need that. Try to get the table a little bit clean here because we're about to show this guitar. And what I'm about to do is I'm going to spray a coat of the clear. I'm sorry, I should have clarified that on the very front end. Let's make sure this is warm enough. Yeah, this is perfect. Okay, I'll pause. And I'll shake that when I pause, but it's plenty warm enough right now. It feels great. And it's probably, even though the country's about to get a nasty snowstorm or ice storm, we're going to miss it in central Alabama. I think it's going to hit the top corner of us. But it's bizarre. It's really kind of warm here. I think it was like 50 degrees yesterday, and it got just a little chilly last night. The reason I bring that up is anytime you're spraying lacquer, make certain that you're spraying in an area where it's about 65 degrees bare minimum. It's better if it's a little bit warmer. Hence the reason I've been really dragging this out and going real slow and just doing like 2 coats a day. So with that said, check the time. 9 minutes. I'm just going to keep going. I hope I didn't get too, but let me do something before I forget. It's my shot glass with lacquer. I'm just going to be cleaning that nozzle right there, but away from the guitar. And just in the event there was just a little bit of spatter right out of the front end. So then, and these past few coats that I've been spraying, they're wet. I've been spraying them fairly wet. But again, just the body. Let's slow down. What does it look like? Beautiful, balanced, very neutral. It's got one divot, one little bitty divot right there. Oh, that's just like it does. Because I did some loosening of those areas just to make certain that I'm not building up too much. They still won't go through, but I'm going to have to sand those. But that was just a little bit of dust from there. So there's a little bitty divot there, and a divot there. And then how I will resolve those as I get, several more finish coats built up, I'll just drip some Nitro M610 1406 out of the can into that at night, flip off the lights, come back the next day, and then I'll be coming across it with my 400 grit and just kind of making certain that I level it in. That'll be once I'm really close to a finished guitar. Really beautiful. I like to flip it this way so I can hold it and control it. Still got to address this dark spot here where the wing got glued on here and got glued on here. In hindsight, I should have allowed the join to be just slightly up into the body. No, I know what it was. These two pieces, it wasn't like one really long board. I don't think so. I'm pretty certain that it was like I had a scrap piece here and a scrap piece here that kind of came from like this location, but it allowed it to get into this piece of Honduran right here. And that's what I meant by when you're working with figured wood, man, it'll go from supermodel blonde to supermodel strawberry red. And then where you were pointing at blonde, you'll turn it and it'll turn red on you again. So that's one of those things where I might have hit it with some mineral spirits thinking, okay, well, it's going to darken up on that corner, but it didn't. And then I've got to determine how am I going to address that. Probably just come in with some dark walnut nitrocellulose and just kind of encourage that area, just that area there, to look more like these two right here. And then after it's all said and done, it should be fine. That's what I was talking about on the very first front end. Got a real cool little knot right there. The fissure is still kind of showing up right there. It's kind of cool. It looks like a lightning strike, like if you look at it from straight on. But the cool thing about this area up here, it's very dark right in here. And regardless of how you turn it, it stays pretty dark right here. But you've got this beautiful flame that's coming out that carries all the way into almost like a bear claw pattern down here. But it's just really cool. The only thing that would have been cooler as it's turning is if it had truly turned and been right in line. It didn't, but it was close enough for us to call it a custom guitar. So I'm happy with it. It's really beautiful. And the cool thing about it is when you just look at the whole body, you really don't even see that there's a glue line there, because you might see it if you turned in the light and all of a sudden it'll pop. But when I'm looking at it in that line right there, I can't even find it. I can't even see it. To me, that's beautiful. That's a very good job. Beautiful guitar. See if we got any flame. Yeah, see, we've got some player's flame right here. So, wow, if I can capture that, that'll be good. Let me just move around real slow, and I might lose it, but you guys might pick up on what the player will see when they're looking down at their custom guitar, man. Okay, again, I've always said it's not guitar worship. It's just the relentless pursuit to build a custom guitar and work with God's creation. And man, did he ever knock it over the fence with that one. That's really cool. And it's amazing when I planed the really large board. As soon as I saw that, I was like, that's it. That's an Explorer, period. Boom. Because it's amazing how it had that sweep in it, because the board literally was straight that way. So the guitar body, where I'm going is the guitar body truly is milled from the tree, like the linear line of the tree. Like if this were the actual tree, well, then this is the actual guitar body. it's nothing is turned on an angle to manipulate pitches and stuff like that. And that's what I meant by once I planed that really large, wide board, boom, that revealed itself right down at the very bottom of the board. So was able to, just get an Explorer replica out of it. So what do we do next? Okay, so what I've got here is, I have no idea, probably 7 to 10 coats, about 3 coats a day tops. Let me back up. 7 to 10 coats that would have been probably 4 coats the first, probably more like, yes, it was. It was 4 coats the first night. The second day, second evening, it was like 3 coats. And then the third evening, it would have been another 3 coats. And that was like 3 or 4 days ago. So this has been curing and drying. So we're real close to the finished guitar. But what's about to happen, this is a 400 grit. And I've already gone across the binding and I kind of cleaned it. And I've been religiously just making certain that it's clean. But you just want to wipe across it once, just to knock off any little dust bunnies that might be there. Because what you're doing now is to try to really achieve the finished guitar. And when I say that's all you do, that's all you do. And right here, I stay straight, but just make certain that there's nothing. And there's nothing. I've already gone across it, but it's not going to hurt to just glide across it. No circular motion at all. I know it's tempting, but if you have some sort of hang up right there, all of a sudden it'll start scoring the body. So I just stay straight with it. And right now it feels like a piece of glass. It's slippery as can be. However, since we didn't do the pore filler, what's going to happen is the beautiful natural grain of the mahogany is actually still being revealed. Will it always be that way? No, because after I build a few more coats of the aerosol, I'll come back with the M610 1406 out of the can and I'll spray probably 2 coats, 1 coat one day, let it dry overnight, and then spray another coat, the entire guitar. But that won't happen until the guitar is pretty much finished or built. It'll have the fretboard on it, because right now all I want to do is get the body pretty much about 90% finished. And I'm glad I'm going off the cuff here because I had not thought about talking about this, but I think that's one of the most difficult things about building the guitar is knowing when to stop at a certain operation. You might think, well, why wouldn't you just keep going and keep going? Because you've got your shop clean, you're not machining anything, there's no dust. But what will happen is, sure enough, before you know it, you'll lay the body down and it'll be on top of that drill bit sticking out from under that rag, and you'll have a nasty little scar there that you'll want to spend a day or 2 repairing. So you just take the body up to this point right here, do a video, spray 1 more coat, and just show how wild it's about to get as far as gloss, and then hang the guitar over in the paint booth, or either on a guitar stand, and let it cure for a few days while you are doing your fretboard, which you'll be working on for about a week or so. So that way, by the time you're truly finished with your fretboard and you're in fretboard mode, then your guitar has been drying for like a whole solid week, and then from there on out, you're working the top towels, finishing the guitar, and so you're not risking screwing up your guitar, whether it's your guitar or a guitar that you're building for a client. So anyway, with that said, what else? That ought to make perfect sense, because see, once I get the fretboard built, then I can truly finish the thickness right here. And all the more reason, as I've clarified in several of the past videos, always do everything clear, even if it's ugly. I don't care if you've got a board and you're going, oh man, that's so unsightly. Like that right there. Most people would have been fearful about showing that on video, because that's a huge eyesore. And is it in the perfect location to be an eyesore? Absolutely. Hidden on the bottom. If it were up here, oh man, that would be that's something you would have needed to address physically. Physically, you would have needed to sand it into that and laminated a real thin piece of veneer just to hide that. But you get all that crap done, and then you can focus on your fretboard. And see, once you get your fretboard glued down, then you're truly shaping the guitar to the dimensions that your client requested. Because right now, you might look at that and think, oh yeah, it's beautiful, it's ready to go. Unfortunately, it's a full millimeter too thick. The entire neck needs to be taken down a little bit thinner. Not quite a millimeter, a little bit under that. And Ed, I've got all of your specs that you gave me from that guitar, but just make certain that you truly love that neck, that feel. Because right now, the specs that you gave me, widths, the guitar, and all that stuff. Well, right now I've got this. This is basically per Gibson. Every bit of this is per Gibson specs, but I'm a little bit thicker in the entire neck. So just make certain that you maybe play Eric's guitar one more time and make certain that I don't get too thin on this. But as of right now, I'll be carving to the dimensions that you gave me, and it'll be getting thinner. But back to, and I did not lose my train of thought, but about always use the clear. If you do the clear, well, there was no sense in spraying any of the clear up here, because every bit of this is going to be getting sanded off and blended in. However, that's the heel. You do not want to lose the heel, because that's the guitar and that's the dimension that we're working with. It's probably around 2 3/16 of an inch, roughly, give or take. It'll be real close to that. Okay. So anyway, and so by having the actual guitar finished in this location, you truly can go ahead and do just that. You can truly finish dimensionally, then you can truly finish it from a standpoint of lacquer or poly or paint or whatever it is you're doing. So with that said, did I come across the top? I don't think I did. Just kind of wipe it to make certain if there's a little bit of a imperfection, you got it off. And I haven't spent too much time on the edge yet. I have rounded it just a little bit. But the cool thing about the all parts binding, especially the cream, it's so stunningly beautiful that a lot of times I will just a lot of times I won't even clear coat the binding. I say a lot of times, it just depends. Just depends on the job. But I think that black top 59 Les Paul replica that I show every now and then, that's my personal guitar. I know the binding on it is just natural. And once you do your buff work, you can't even tell. It's so beautiful. So, in other words, but this one here is definitely sprayed. It's going to be sealed with the nitro. And then right there at the end, as I said, like probably when I install the fretboard, level all the frets, the guitar's finished, then I'll do a final sanding where I then will come in with some 220, and I'll actually round that edge. Let me go ahead and do the whole guitar so I don't end up with one side a little bit too. So all I'm doing is just 220 on a 45 degree. But whatever you do in one location, carry it all the way around for consistency, so it almost looks like it was machined. And that's probably a good idea that I went ahead and did it right now, because any build cuts that I do, always be real careful in the corners. It seems to wear those off really fast. But we're about to tack cloth the guitar, and then I'm going to spray it, and then we'll end the video. I'm sorry. Before I spray it, let me show one. Let me pause briefly, and I don't need. Let me check the time. 24 minutes. I'm just trying to keep this around 35 minutes if possible. Okay, I don't think these are going to fit because of all the overspray lacquer. Yeah, I'll go ahead and do this. Yeah, this is probably one of the most important parts of the video, because from here on out, you're focusing on how to not lose the guitar. How to not lose the guitar. Okay, so those will not fit. And you might think, well, okay, so just get, and let me show you what I would recommend as far as being safe. Let's see if we can do this. Drill bit, it's probably, it's less, it's probably 3/8, I mean not 3/8, my ass, 3/16. Yeah, you definitely want to do this before you do your tack cloth work. Let's see if we can get one to fit. Yeah, close enough. So I'll go ahead and I'll just do them by hand, but one of them I'm going to do with a 3/8" drill, and I'm going to show you how you could do some really dangerous work. But it works, but still be safe. All right, so what you could do, okay, 3/8" drill bit. The biggest mistake you can make is to try to like drill it, put it in reverse, set it in the location, you just leave it in reverse, blow it off. Now, what you could do, take it back down to the body, switch it to clockwise or cutting. Gotta make sure I don't get into that rag under there. I wouldn't recommend doing that, but you know, if you had 25 guitars laying on the table, every one of them had just been sprayed, this wouldn't even be on the table. I'd be drilling every one of those and then hitting it right there at the last with the lighter. So going in reverse, but you got to be putting just a little bit of pressure as you're drilling down, and that way it'll just eventually just kind of it'll force its way into the slot, and then once you're in there, then you can turn it back in the cutting direction and open up the hole. What I'm going to show you, Ed, is I want to make certain that we're on the same page about the knobs, because you didn't ever clarify whether you wanted a speed knob or a traditional knob. You just said per 56 specs, but I want to make certain that we're on the same page. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure the 56 guitar had the round knob, kind of like the speed knob design, but since it's gold, it shows more of the real, well, it shows all the structural positive negative space of the actual knob going over the shaft, so which is really beautiful. And that's what I meant, and I didn't really drive it home in the last video what I was trying to clarify, because I was kind of rushing through it. So let's not rush through it. And also, it'll give us the opportunity to introduce, verify a few things. Yeah, definitely got it loose enough. And on that note, you'll want to seal that with a Q-tip with a little dipped in some nitrocellulose lacquer. You can just seal that later on because you do not want any of that exposed. But this will also give you the perfect opportunity to assess depths and engineer all your depths by stacking the lower nut, the lower lock washer, et cetera, and all that stuff. But nonetheless, it's going to be laid out just like a Les Paul. And with that said, they're spaced very far apart. The SG is spaced considerably tighter and closer. It's a much tighter cluster, but obviously these being the two tones back here and the two volumes, that's irrelevant right now. But they're spaced such that you've got plenty of room to do the I'm just going to call it the round knob. I don't know if they call it the speed knob in the 50s, but obviously it would be just true gold. I don't know if this one, yeah, see, that would be the 59 Les Paul. I'm pretty sure would have had, yeah, of course it would have, because the 60 had the one that had the clear top. They're not the witch hat knobs like what was on the SG, but this one's not going to go on because these are metric. It might go on just enough yeah, it should just hold on. I tell you what, let me pause because I've got 4 of these, and I'll see if I can not force them on, but just let it be on there just enough so you can literally see the dimension of the knob is what I'm talking about, Ed. Because just want to get it right the first time. Okay, I've been paused for like 25 minutes setting up to just do some mock-up discussion, and it's definitely time to have this conversation. And I just wasn't really as prepared as I thought I was. Okay, the whole objective for my design is to end up with the ability to use a long potentiometer. And I discovered that even in the SG body that I restored for Eric, which was like a true 69 probably body, you would have just barely been able to have gotten the real tall, extra, the 3/4 inch tall shaft in that body, but it would have worked. But they machine their bodies out hyper thin in the top so they can come in with a short potentiometer. Now, this is kind of, I can't really show this, but because this is for something different, but that was added on. But you can see the short potentiometer is considerably shorter. Don't stop talking about that. However, I like the whole idea about the designs of my guitars. They kind of evolve from that location right there, which is based on the engineering of a component that is already available and something that obviously you can't build yourself. Don't want to build it. But I always like the idea of having the nut on the bottom to adjust it if I need to. Then the actual locking washer. Okay. Then what it boils down to is the body thickness ends up being right at about 7/16 of an inch thick right there. And what is 7/16 of an inch? That's almost a half of an inch. That's substantial. And if this guitar ever took a real nasty fall and, and hit the floor, direct on or just whatever, just any sort of catastrophic situation, I'm talking like a real serious dilemma, it's very unlikely that one of my guitars are going to crack or come apart or even separate here. Other than that substantial hole I had to drill right there to get the wires. But there's just certain things you can't do. So then on the top, you've got the one face washer, but again, this is too low. And I've already clarified it, and I even wrote on here 1/64 of an inch has got to be machined off of that. So we know that, but what I'm showing Ed here is I want to make certain that we're on this exact same page because we've never seen this guitar before. And it really is incredibly important that we take the time to not just say, yeah, let's just go per 56 specs. Well, if we go per 56 specs, these speed knobs might end up looking like, they might end up looking, oh, fuck. They might end up looking enormous. I'm indifferent. Please understand that, Ed. And I'm about to pause the video and show these again, but I'm going to have to adjust these down anyway because see, these won't fit. They won't even go over the shaft. So I'm going to drop these down so that you can see them with the speed knobs on there. If anything, to see what's going on dimensionally from looking at the scale of the width of the thickness of the body, which is hyper ass thin, but that's a 1.5 inch. That's what an Explorer is, or a Replica. But the question is, are these speed knobs going to overpower the guitar, even though I'm pretty sure that's what they would have used in 1956. So, with that said, while we're doing some mock-up, let's just keep doing some mock-up. And let's see the guitar come together, which is really beautiful. Or if for some reason you didn't like that, I could go with a black cover. I think I've got black. I don't have one machined, but then it would start clashing here. So I would say just embrace the fact that it's a pretty loud pop with the parchment, because it complements what's going on with the 58 specs jack plate, and that which complements what's going on with the rest of the build. And this will most likely be the screenshot, unless I come in with the Lollar pickups. I may go ahead and pull the Lollar. No, I'm not, because I don't want to start sanding on any of this up here just to try to make them fit for the video and stuff like that. Because if anything, I'm going to be sanding a little bit of material off the bottom of the Lollar pickup cover, because they flare out a little bit. I don't know why the hell they do that. Why they're not just straight down. But anyway, neither here nor there. Stupid beautiful. I mean, to me, that's the guitar I would be building. These are the 59 knobs, 59 replica specs. Pretty cool guitar. But I just said I'm indifferent, but apparently I'm not indifferent. I say that, it's just, see, we moved the controls locations from down here up and back, but very much kind of behind, almost barely behind the tailpiece. So that's what I meant by, if we're not real careful, since we've never seen this guitar, if we go with the speed knobs, which I'm going to show, I'm going to pause here in a moment. I'm going to go ahead and put these speed knobs on here. And then, but if we went with the larger speed knob, it might really overpower the guitar. And I think we all know that from a standpoint of aesthetics, that's pretty cool, man. Scale, everything about it. Okay, let me pause and get the speed knobs put on there, because I'm gonna have to lower these down a little bit, and then we'll go from there. Let me pause. Okay, we're not too bad in time, so I thought I'd go ahead and see what the modern knob looks like. Just because it just kind of hit me as I made that statement. You know, we've never seen this guitar before. At least I haven't. I mean, there may be one out there that someone's built. Maybe even Gibson's done it, but I don't know. So with that said, until you start really mocking something up and looking at it dimensionally, can you tell what works or what doesn't work? And that's incredible. I love that. That's very much circa 1980s type custom guitar build. And also from a player's standpoint, even though it's very tall, dimensionally they're very narrow. And if you're truly a player, that would be an insanely awesome knob. If you're like the Bonamassa type, which really gets into the volume and tone and whatnot, so that would work. That would definitely work as well. Or the cool thing is, you can, if you need these for certain performances, then use them, or swap them out. They pull off relatively simply. These were metric, and I just drilled them out for exactly what you just saw. Excuse me, for mock-up purposes, because I do a lot of like custom designs that I'm fooling with, and where I'm building the guitar on a piece of cardboard. Poster paper. I'll build the entire prototype design on poster paper. The neck, the headstock shape, everything. Set it up on the table, and then I'll come in here with all these different knobs, and I'll just lay everything out. Do like a Gretsch configuration where you just do 3, or maybe a tele configuration, and then start messing around with what happens visually when you start offsetting things and maybe move this one up a little bit further to define that it's like a, you know, master tone or master volume. So it's so much cheaper to do it on paper. And if it looks good, you know, the body is two-dimensional, but once you put all these pieces atop that construction paper, man, you can save a ton of money as far, and also you can truly see something that you might have never have thought of if you just sat down with paper and pencil and started sketching something. And I've never done any sort of CAD type work. I'm going to need those to be a little bit higher. But these knobs are so tall that I'm just going to have to barely let them stick through. I probably won't even be able to get the nut on the front because these are metric. So I'm going to pause and try to get this set up so I don't make a fool out of myself on camera, and then we'll go from there. Okay, yeah, these are, I'm not going to be able to move this one too much. I probably won't even be able to flip it over because, well, yeah, they're going to fall off immediately. But what I'm having to do here, since they're metric, is just, you know, tape that and just let them fall into position. But do they look bad? Absolutely not. These are awesome too. But keep in mind, I've got them just laying directly on the top of the guitar, and so they would be up just a little bit. I'm just talking dimensionally, but also how the black looks great too. It's amazing how getting to see this guitar for the first time. Again, I've never seen this before. And just as Ed made the statement, he knows the Gold's going to react differently visually on a flat top versus an arch top. Well, all the same reason, or not even more reason, but that the all the different knobs that we're looking at are really going to look different as well. And just try to envision that they're actually, you know, gold, of course, and you could see all of the shaft down in there, the offset, the little valleys and stuff. They would be really beautiful. So I say that to say this: I truly am indifferent. I truly am. I do think the 59 was really awesome, very tasteful, but you know, it just depends on what Ed wants. Why? Because it's his guitar. Okay, so I really don't think we could make a mistake with anything. Even the black modern speed knobs look good. I wouldn't recommend that as a first choice, but certainly not a mistake. Okay, so now I can get that off the table and paint or spray some lacquer. And then hopefully in this video, very quickly, I might talk about, if we got there's a little bit of time, I might talk about making certain that you understand. If you don't, let me just go ahead and say it. These have a ground side and more of like a hot side. So, because there's foil in there, and either the foil's around it on this side or the foil is around it on this side. So it's very important that you understand that all of your capacitors have a side that is best to go to ground. Do some research, if I don't talk about it later, and find out how to test that. It's very simple, as long as you have an amplifier or some sort of little amplification that plugs into an outlet, not just the battery powered. And I'm gonna stop. Just do your research on grounding that, because I got to paint a guitar here and get us back in the saddle as far as finishing this video. And but just do your research, because all that's about to take place next. Where I'm going with this, the more knowledge you have on the front end, the more you can head off as you're building the guitar, so that once you are in a finished state, you're doing as few operations as possible. And even with this design right here, you could go ahead and order that Les Paul harness completely pre-wired. The capacitor's already soldered in by someone who really knows, you know, how to do that stuff, and just install it like you would a Les Paul, and then feed the output jack through it, and then feed your three-way. That would be, you might even be able to go, now the SG wouldn't work, but you would have to go with an L-type three-way that, you know, had the long, that right there, whatever that's called. It's funny, when I'm thinking about something else, sometimes I can't think of the words I'm trying to say. Leads, the leads. Okay, wires, leads, whatever you want to call them. All right, let me pause and get this thing cleaned up. I'll come back and then I'll talk about spraying, and then we'll spray it. We'll end the video. Okay, I'll spend just a moment here tack clothing it and getting ready to obviously spray just the body, the body, meaning the entire body, top and back. And the way I'll spray it will be I'll be spraying. I'll spray the sides first. I always start spraying this because it's such a big, bizarre body. It's hard to get to. So sometimes I'll hold the body right here and I'll spray it. I'll spray this part and then I'm finished. Then I can move to holding the guitar up here in the neck or something like that. One thing, the mistake I made was I should have gone ahead and drilled for the tuner locations, because that's where you can hang the guitar like in a booth and you can just spray the entire guitar like that. But I like the idea. I like to have the ability to just move the guitar around a little bit, because sometimes I'm intentionally wanting things to fog in a certain direction and not load up right here. But and obviously I very rarely ever would spray from the top where I'm trying to spray the sides but letting the top get the overspray. If anything, I'm going to do the entire back and let any sort of overspray just go out into thin air, but then there at the last, then come back and do the real thin. Well, this one will be wet because I'm getting ready to start building some coats. Okay. So it doesn't take much, but obviously want to make certain that once that aerosol or your spray, the fan goes across here, you don't blow any dust out. But, and I've already done that. Usually just one or two good wipes, and it's plenty. These tack cloths, they're weird. They seem a lot, and here's where it gets difficult. You can't let it get on the table, so it gets heavy. But it seems like these tack cloths are a lot more like greasy than they were when I was a kid painting. But it's a beautiful guitar, and the cool thing is it's truly about to enter into that state. And what I'm gonna have to do here, I got a guitar hanger there. Sorry guys. Sometimes it's hard to do this stuff on camera and try to entertain as you're thinking about what it is you want to do. I just hate that sticky crap. It's like, man, it's just really gummy. And there you have it. So I'm going to pause, but I got the guitar hanging over there on my guitar stand. And since I don't have the tuner locations drilled, obviously I can't hang it from the wall. So let me just stop talking and I'll be back with the shiny guitar. Okay, I won't be able to hold the guitar like I normally would, but let's just kind of look at it. The top, still not finished, as far as like a finished guitar, but maintaining its color. I'll hold it. I'll just have to do everything from the neck, holding the neck. So should be able to get some really good pictures here, or images, I should say. But I cannot let it touch anything. Do the best I can. Hopefully getting some good images there. Should be. Beautiful guitar. And again, since my lacquer's not tinted, it's okay to just let it kind of feather up into the neck a little bit. And I'll do all my shaping on my neck later on. And then just build the neck coats the way I built the body. And then right there at the very end, shoot, 2 to 3 coats of the M610 1406 out of the can. And then come back after that stride for a week or so. And then shoot 1 or 2 more with the aerosol there, M113 1406, and then that'll be a guitar that's ready to buff and ship. So it's a very long process. All right, what I'm going to do is, since I'm in spraying mode, I'm going to go ahead and talk about this guitar some. Let me check the time. Yeah, see, it's only 50 minutes. So since I brought this up in the last video, and as you see, as I'm doing lacquer work in tandem, now is an absolutely incredible time to go ahead and finish this guitar as well. And everything that we did was all with the brush out of the can, basically. But what I discovered was I had some pretty nasty scars on a really screwed up angle that should have never happened. But I had to work all that out, and the way I worked it out was I saturated the top with mineral spirits and came in with this brass brush and just had to cut into the actual grain. So all the more reason when you're doing your very initial prep work with like 120, always stay with the grain. Don't do any circular sanding or anything, even if you're assuming, later on I'll work it all out. No, just try to religiously stay with the grain. And otherwise, if not, you'll end up doing what I had to do, where I had to recut every bit of that and get it down. And then, I sanded it lightly, but then I had to rebrush the top. So what's going on here is this is ready to receive some sanding work. Let me pause and get my sanding tools. And then what we're going to do before the video ends, I'm going to shoot a coat of this on this guitar as well and see what happens going from one brush coat out of the can. Yeah, only one brush coat out of the can, and then let's see what happens with one kind of wet coat out of this can. Okay, best use of your sandpaper, full sheet. Cut your block about 3 inches. 3 1/16 is what that one is. 3 1/2, give or take. Go over to like 3 9/16, give or take. Tear that sheet off. Tear this in half. Now you have a perfect sanding block. And I usually go ahead and date them so that I kind of know what it is that I'm working with. And then you got a perfect grip there. And when you wear this one out, this one's ready to fit your block as well. And it's just things like that that'll keep your job very much under control. And that was a new 220. Check for any sort of gum up. Anything that was there with a brand new 220 would have already been knocked off by now. Very gently, just go around your edge. Almost no pressure at all. I've already done this. I did this a couple of nights ago. But I'll do it again. Nice clean, ready to rock. All right, where's my tack cloth and rag? I'm gonna do this off, what the hell, it doesn't matter. Because I won't be spraying Ed's guitar anymore today, because I just sprayed that's a pretty wet coat. and it just now stopped raining, but the humidity outside is insane, so I wouldn't want to try to do two coats. But if you don't have a tack cloth, I found that the like the terry cloth, they work really well. You can get them at any discount hardware store. In the States, we have a place called Harbor Freight, which their tools they're not horrible. They're not the best, but like my vacuum cleaner over there, I got it from Harbor Freight, and it's incredible. It's just as good as a Rigid or a DeWalt or any of that stuff for that type work. Again, the cool thing is the tools that we buy today that are coming even from overseas. You know, a lot of them are throwaway after a while, but nonetheless, they come right out of the package. They're fine for doing this type work. You don't have to have really expensive tools to do this type work. Like my little contractor table saw over there, and I've got that thing set up so accurate and so true. I'm not kidding you when I say I can rip a well, a lot of times I'll buy my mahogany neck billets in I think they're 3.5 by 4. I'll put them on that table saw and straight line them, and they're perfectly true. Because I got an exceptional blade and I've got the saw set up so well. But you know, you don't have to have the really high end stuff. All right. So with that said, let me get this gummy, you know what, off my hands. Hang this on my guitar stand. And when I come back, it'll be a shiny black limba guitar. Okay, it's been about 15 or 20 minutes. Let me get this table kind of stripped down. And we're going to talk about balance and what's going on behind this design. It's still, I can't touch it, but let me see if I can do this. Okay, I've got whoa. Let me get it off the table so I can hold it up and it not fall. All right, that's all I've got. It's in the, I'll see if I can, it's not gonna hurt to touch the, here we go, I can do this. Okay, I can hold it in this location right here. You know, it's ugly, it's not a guitar yet, but I can hold it kind of in this location and just show you how quickly it'll start coming back alive. The most important thing, what I'm doing here is beginning to tack. It's just kind of sticky. But what I'm going to do when I'm handling a guitar, which I screwed up and didn't drill the freaking, you know what, tuner location so I could hang the thing. So I'll just take that and stick it right in the middle in the bridge pickup location. Sit it on a table and let it dry. And this is kind of what I was talking about, Ed, as far as the balance of this design is pretty insane. Now, obviously, you know, it doesn't have a fretboard on it, doesn't have frets, tuners, and stuff like that. But once everything starts getting offset, whether it's the weight of all of your potentiometers and stuff going on down here, pickups, bridge, tailpiece, lacquer, the weight of the paint, this guitar is one of the most incredibly balanced guitar designs I've ever seen. Even down the center line, you can take a triangle and you can lay this triangle on the table, you know, put a piece of paper across it so you don't scratch anything, and then put this triangle basically right on the center line of the body. And the guitar, after it's built, with all the tuners and after it's a finished guitar, ready to play. Strap buttons are on it, you name it. You can put this on the table, sit the guitar atop the top of that triangle, and it'll just about float perfectly. And we'll do that at the end of the video. And what's bizarre is every one of them that I have built do that, whether it's a poplar body or a mahogany body or a Carina / Limba body. It's incredible. And I don't know if, from a marketing standpoint, that Gibson ever they might have said, "Hey, look, not only were we influenced by the jet era and the swept wings, and that's what the Flying V was based on. They were basing it on the fact that the military wings would retract and go into delta position, and and there was so much going on in that era, you know, the 40s, 50s, and 60s, that I wonder if they might have said, hey, they might have had the intention of having a marketing plan stating that, or emphasizing that our guitars are just as balanced as, you know, the fighter jets. Who knows? Probably not. But nonetheless, they truly are an incredibly well balanced guitar, and that's insane. So because you know you've got that really large wing up there, that's probably a really beautiful view right there, because everything about this figure is, I'll lean it back a little bit. Everything about this figure, and it's getting dry now. I can just about touch it now. It's a little bit tacky right there, a little bit tacky on the front, but everything about this design is so incredibly well balanced. To me, that looks like a lynx, the cat, the wild cat with lynx fur, and just incredible. You know, there's a lot of figure going on there, but not just that. You know, I could probably handle it now, but not just that. It's a beautiful guitar, and you know, there's parts of it. Sometimes it's a little bit ugly, but very well balanced design. I think there was a lot more going on at Gibson from the design standpoint than anyone ever knew. And would it be my first choice guitar? As I've told Ed, absolutely not. No, man, not at all. But it's definitely a design, once you start getting used to it, that you kind of always want to have one around, if that makes sense. So with that said, I'll end the video. I would do some mock-up and stuff, but it's already getting kind of long, and we've covered some good ground. And Ed's guitar, I'm sure, is dry enough now to handle. Yeah, but I wouldn't want to I wouldn't want to put it on the what you call it. I wouldn't want to lay it on the table. But let's see if we can do the same thing with Ed's. Okay, I'm going in the bridge pickup position, and I'm really cutting it close. I'm using a piece of 3/4 board there. Let's see if we can do this without it falling off the table. Look at that, that's insane. So, I think we have something there. And I'm not kidding you when I say that block of wood is pretty much, let me find the danger spot. Come on. That board is positioned at the very back edge of the bridge pickup location, at the very back wall, pretty much perfectly centered. And I was not planning on talking about that in this video, but that's crazy. And that's not trick photography. So that's what I meant, Ed. You'll be blown away at the end of the videos when I start doing the weight and balance assessment of everything, because there was a lot more going on at Gibson. I don't think that would be dumb effing luck right there. I think that was definitely a design standpoint of where they were offsetting whatever this weight they added up here. They were extending it down here to keep everything central. And if anything, I think they should have discontinued the Flying V design and just focused on this through the 50s alongside the SG. But rather than the SG being like 1 3/8 inch thick, they should have made the SG 1 1/2 inch thick like this, and then just never changed that design. And their guitar, look at that, I just bumped it and it went back. And that way their guitars would have just stuck with those designs. And I think they would have been pretty incredible. Okay, so I appreciate you guys dropping in, and I hope you survive the cold, icy weather in the Midwest and the central U.S. And you guys up north, Eric and Ed, give me a call if there's anything I can do for you. But otherwise, I know you guys are probably quite capable of handling the cold, so I'm not. So, and I was even thinking about Man, I wish I was still down in South Florida the other night. So, anyway, I appreciate you guys dropping in, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.